Thanks. All right. Welcome everybody to our Friday night class. And tonight we're going to be doing the Stash Buster necklaces. They're a really fun design that you can use any beads for. And so this is a recorded class and we're going to go, not too fast. It's a pretty chill project. So I feel like we will have lots of time to go over, different parts of putting this together, at least maybe twice. But I still recommend, especially if beading is a new thing or something that, you want to pay attention to how it's done and follow along might make that harder. So this is recorded and there's a replay you can catch later. So if I'm going too fast, don't worry too much about that. But do feel free to ask any questions that you have in the chat and we'll answer them during class. So I'm going to show you guys the project really quick. I have a few new samples on the desk as well, but this one is my favorite. And it's just a very simple design. It's a beads from the strung wall. And I kind of matched all the colors just for kind of a little, earth tone look. And I put a charm on the end, super simple. And so that's what we're doing today, super customizable and really freestyle. So switching to my mat over here, what I've got on the mat are just some beads that we thought worked with the camera and the color for being able to see class really well. And I'm just going to hit this button so I can see my screen. There we go. And this is the one I was just holding up in front of the camera. And so how this is made is it starts at the clasp side. It's worked on 2 strands with 2 needles. And the strands are brought together and separated throughout the design. And so that has 2 really great features. One is it makes it possible to use any beads you like and add this little element of interest to it. And then it also makes it a little bit stronger and gives you spots to weave in. That's pretty key when you're doing, a stitched design that's kind of like a strand. You need places to turn so you can add thread, so you can end your thread and reinforce. So that's what this is all about. And then I'm going to switch to the materials really quick. So it's sewn on Wildfire. This is 0.06. You could use 0.08 if you wanted to. And I'm using some size 10 beading needles. You'll need some scissors just to cut the thread. And then tonight for this demo, I am using 2 colors of the size 10 seed beads. You don't need 2 colors. I'm doing that to kind of highlight that we do have 2 strands going because it's kind of hard to see in the samples, I think. So I thought we'll try that for a demonstration, but you really only need 1 color unless you want to mix it up. And then beads. And for beads, the sky's the limit. This is the time where you can get into those beads that you bought that you thought, oh, those are so cute, but you just never could figure out, well, what can I do with them? Well, this is the project for those beads. And for those odd beads, those onesie twosie things that you have left over from other projects. Great way to use those. Adding a pendant is optional, but if you want to, great place to add a pendant. And you can mix up the sizes. But you don't have to. You could always just work 1 color, like just 1 solid color and 1 solid bead size through anything you like. So that is all the materials except for the beginning and ending. So a findings pack for jump rings and a clasp, but any clasp you'd like will work for this project. I did get a question about, can I use wire guardians in place of doing that loop in the beginning? I'm going to talk to that. It's not in the requirements to have this part, but I'm going to show you where you can use it if that's something that you like doing, just to make your work a little bit stronger or easier to take a jump ring off of. And then some tools. These are just some chain nose pliers. If you have another pair for doing jump rings, that's also great. And that's it. That's pretty much the whole lineup of stuff. So I'm going to get started. So for length, about 120 inches will get you a necklace that's pretty long. This one, I believe, is about, I think I did almost 30 inches of it. So I like them a little bit longer, my necklaces. And so you can layer too. You can start with start with, 120 and then either move up or down from there based on what you think after you've made one. Another good way to test it is to make a bracelet length, which is what I think I'm going to do today, just so I can keep it in the focus. A bracelet length, for me, I'm going to cut a little extra. I'm probably going to cut 20 inches, maybe 22 inches to give myself some weave-in room. Okay, so there's that. And a trick to getting your needles threaded is to flatten the end of your Wildfire with some chain nose pliers, just like that. You'll need to do that on both ends for this project. So we're going to put a needle on each end. So I just did that, and I'm going to grab 2 needles. They're stuck in the mat here. There we go. Okay, there's one. And just fold it over, 4 inches or so down, whatever works for you. If you're working with a super long strand and you're going to be folding over a lot more, like when I made the super long necklaces, I think I folded over maybe even 15 inches. I tried to match what I did on both sides so that I could find my midpoint, because that's what we're about to do next, is find the midpoint between these two. Sorry, I'm struggling with this just for a second. There we go. And so what that looks like if you're at your mat measuring is I took the tails together like that. Bring that closer. Doesn't have to be that precise, but just close enough. And then fold over at the same spot so that your lengths are, not exact, but at least close. And then you'll want to pick up 3 of the size 10 beads on each of those strands. And then bring it down to the center. So here's what that looks like. I'm just going to move this out of the way really quick. So you've got our midpoint. We found that by bringing these down to the center. And now we're going to reinforce this loop. And so what I like to do to make this easier is to come down through these first 3. Pull tight. Come back up through. So I'm working with just 1 strand right now. I'm just looping through it. And now I'm going to do that same thing again, but with the other side. I'm going to go through and back through. And on this pass, so on the pass where I'm going down through those first 3, use that as a great spot to tighten everything up and pull both of them apart. Come back down. And there you go. That's a pretty well reinforced connection. This is where I got the question earlier about, can I use a wire guardian here? And I would say, yeah. Replace these 4. So the ones I'm covering up, replace those 4 with your wire guardian, and then do the same thing we just did, if that's something you want to try. And then another thought, if because the concern was, well, hey, will my jump ring open up and slide off? The point of putting the seed beads here is that the jump ring tends to not do that. But if it's a worry and you have on hand a closed jump ring, you could put that on before you do, those passes where we reinforced. You could bring all 6 beads to the center and then go ahead and bring on a closed jump ring and then reinforce like that. And that would be also another really solid way to start this piece. So there's 3 ideas for you. The way that it is here is I'm going to add the jump ring at the end. Okay, and so the next thing you'll want to do is bring both of your needles through a focal bead. Now I have a focal bead with a pretty good internal hole diameter, so I'm able to get both needles through. You may need to put one at a time if your bead is different, or like especially if you're using a pearl or something. Just know that you might need to pass one needle through and then the next one. But there you go. There's our start. And now the rest of it is just really fun. And so The pattern that is in the handout and that was used to make all of the samples, it works by adding 3 size 10s and then an interest bead, 3 size 10s. And so I'm going to grab another one of these beads over here. There's that. And then 3 more size 10s. And that's on one strand. I just put that on, sorry, jumping there. I just put that on one strand. With the other, I'm going to come up through the first 2 of those 10s that we added here. And if at any point you feel like you want to tighten it again, you just pull those strands apart and bring it together. Okay, so working with this same strand, this is the part where it's really freestyle. Knowing your different beads are going to use a different number of, strand jumps, as I'm calling them, or arms. So I noticed that, for example, with a 6mm bead, about 4 or 5 beads worked. I think this is going to be more like 7, but let's see. And I'm going to work all of my second strand in this yellow color. Another thing you can do is just kind of look at it. And 9. There's 9. This is a really tall bead, so I might need more. Yeah, I'm going to put maybe 4 more on there. But so yeah, this is the process that I went through when I was designing that first one. And you're just deciding what looks good to you. I think I'm going to go with one less here. Okay, and so I'm going to skip that first bead and just go through these next 2. And so that's the basic stitch there. And the other great part is that I've got somewhere to turn if I need. So I can come back later and go through this again if I want to. If I needed to reinforce it again, if I needed to add thread, if it was something super long, like a long project, I'm going to add another bead. And then I was going to talk a little bit about designing your pattern, what looks great for your design and what you like on the handout. What you'll see in the handout is roughly a pattern where you've got, 3 beads, and then some of them have this sidearm. And then for 2 or 3 beads after that, just both strands running through the focal and the seed beads, with 3 beads in between each of those large focals, and then some arm jumps every 2 or 3 beads. That's kind of the pattern I followed in each of the samples in the handout and in this one. But you don't have to do that. You can do any design that you like. And here's just a sample of what's possible if you wanted to change up these counts. So here's one with 7. I put 7 size 10 beads in between each bead. And I'm doing arm jumps a lot more frequently on this design. It's a really fun spin on. And look, you can use any of those cute beads that caught your eye that you just bought because, I love it. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I bought it. There it is. You can use it in this design really nicely. So that's increasing the counts. You could also decrease them. And so I'm going to throw on a focal here and make some stitches. So that is an 8mm bead, the one that I've just added. And so I'm going to put 3 size 10s on one of the strings. And it doesn't matter, when you go through each of your focals, you're not going to be on the same strand anymore. You can try to keep track of it if you want, but you don't actually have to. It'll work out great either way. Okay, and so there's 3. And I've just got 2 interest beads that I'm working with right now, so I'm just kind of stringing them along. 3 more. And I'm going to bring, this is the second strand, the other strand. I'm just traveling together, bringing them up together. So now I've brought both strands through the 3, the bead, the 3. And now I'm going to add focal, 3 more seed beads. And I do this a lot, but so you could just start looping around from here, see where my thread's exiting from the third one, and I want it to be exiting from the second. And the reason that I've been doing that way versus just, you know, looping around from the side here is it makes the beads square. They don't flow in a straight line if you do that. So if you were to, for example, exit from this bead and then just try to very tightly wrap around, you know, and then when you get over here and you try to pull up through this one, again, it will kind of make a pucker in the seeds, in the seed beads. But in some cases that might look cool. So do try it if you like that and see if you like it. I think on one of the samples that I did in the handout, there was one that had seashells on it. It was kind of like on a gray. I purposely did that with a 3mm pearl on the chips to make it square. So take a look at that one if you want to see what I mean about how it doesn't you know, keep a straight line, if that makes any sense. So this is an 8mm bead. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to add 6, 7, 8. Let's see if that lines up. I think it does. So skipping that bead, the first one there, and then going to the next 2. Okay, and I'm going to pull that pretty tight. And there it is, just a cute little pattern. And you can see how fast it goes too. Another example, or not an example, but a question that I was asked is, do you have to keep, you know, switching back and forth between your strands, meaning stringing one and then adding the 10s and then switching back to this needle to follow it? You totally don't have to. In fact, if you wanted, you could string the whole thing with just one strand and then use this one to come along behind it. The only downer is when you're tightening like this, that's going to be harder to do if you've got a bunch of beads coming off in this direction, but it's still possible, especially if you're doing a bracelet. So I would say, you know, yeah, that would work too. And so I'm going to follow this one. And if I say follow, it's kind of just bringing both strands together through that section. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to bring in a new focal. You guys will start to recognize the pattern I'm going for here. I'm trying to make the arm chase around a different bead every time. So now I'm going to grab another one of these. Then 3 more on there. Switch back to the other one. Okay. So I'm coming through here and just going through those first 2. This is actually really cute. I'm liking it. And how many did I do down here? I want to go back and see. So there's 12 there. So let's do 12 up here too. That's 8. Okay, and there's 12. Same thing. I'm going to skip that bead here. Skip this one, and just go through those last 2. That is really cute. Another focal. Chasing it over here by the picture. Ran out the picture there, sorry. And then 3 more of these. And then just following along with this one. And so that's pretty much how it's done. I would keep going. I think I'm going to go one more so I can get a good length here to do like a bracelet. Get a measure on this. We're at 5.5. I'm going to do 1 or 2 more repeats for a really cute bracelet design. Here's this one. And 1 more here. This one's got the little plastic thing still in it. There we go. So cute. Okay. So ending these. A really good way to end them. I try to end with one of those arms on the last bead that I use. You don't have to. You'll just have to weave down to, you know, the next point where you have one. So if your design's working where, you know, in mine it's perfect. I wanted to do an arm here anyway, but if that doesn't work out in your design and you want to do one down here, that's fine. You'll just have to weave back for your turn, but that'll be totally okay. All right, and so above this one, I'm putting 3. And then on this one, I'm exiting from, you know, the bead that's that second one, right? That we added here. I'm not sure if that's super easy to see, but I'm exiting from that one. Bring all these down. And let's see, we used 2, 3, we used 9. So put 9 here. Yeah, if I was going to keep going, I would make this something that could be either a necklace and a bracelet, and I would make it wrap around my wrist 3 times. And then it could also be one where there's like one of those lobster claw charms that they sell on the charm wall, and like hang it on it when it's a necklace, and then just put it on the clasp when it's a bracelet. And that was just a little thought there I was having. That would be really cute. Okay, so there's my last repeat for this, this bracelet. It's just a 1-strand bracelet here. And I'm going to finish it. So to finish it, you want to do the same thing kind of in reverse that we did before. And it might help for me to show the visual on that. So let me grab this really quick. It helps me too. But basically what we're going to do, here's where we are. We came up through here. And 1 went through the focal, 1 went around. We had the 2 here. And actually in this design, it looks like I put a little mini focal bead here. I'm probably going to just skip that for this part, and because I feel like it looks better. I want it to have some symmetry with what I did over here. But what we could do is we could make the loop right after that bead, and that would actually be even more symmetrical. I'm wondering if I should change it. I like it though. I think there's a couple ways I could do this. I could bring 3 on this one. And come back down through this one. And then how's that going to look with this side? I think that's going to be good. And so kind of like a little figure 8. There's one way you could end it, and we'll reinforce that. We'll go with this strand, go up and around, and then come back down through here. This one I would come down through the side, loop around to reinforce. I think that would be pretty great. And so for example, this would be a really great spot to put your toggle, because sometimes a toggle bead, a toggle bar needs a little bit more space to get through the ring on the other side. I don't know if you guys have ever been caught out by that before, but I always do that. And I make this gorgeous bracelet and I'm at the end and then I can't get my toggle in because I didn't put, so this is a really good way to make space. But if you wanted to put another bead here, you could do that too. The thing about this pattern is you can kind of do whatever you want. It's just one, little grouping of thoughts that I'd had for a way to structure a cool bracelet or necklace or choker necklace, anything, anklet. It's a really cute anklet too. So weaving in is kind of, It's really boring, but it's really worth it doing. It helps your piece get stronger. And I'm going to go up through this one more time. It doesn't matter which strand you do this extra loop with. Whichever one you have handy is totally fine. And so now I've gone through that 3 times. So that's pretty strong there. And so with this strand, I had gone through the focal. I'm going to do the opposite with this one, just to keep a strand through each one. So exiting here and going around the arm with one of the strands and through the focal with the other. Gosh, this is really cute. Okay, so for weaving in the handout, it says to give yourself each strand 2 turns. And I just did not really a turn, but each one just kind of went through there. So what I would do next is bring this, one of them down and loop around this, come back up and loop around that, and then bring this one all the way down so I'm not looping through the same ones, and I'd probably go around, up, and around. I'm going to do it with one just in case anyone wants to see what that looks like, to make sure that it makes sense to everybody. But it's the same process for both strands. So, and it doesn't matter which direction you choose to go. So I went through the focal, and here's where you'd make a turn from this 10 to that 10. Oops. So there's one turn. Coming up through those 10s there, and another turn right here. So it goes pretty fast. It takes a minute. This also is adding a little extra strength to your piece. And it's a chance to fix anything that got loose by accident. So I'm still traveling. And this time I'm going to go through this side here. One more change of direction, and I think I've got it. And another thought I was just having is that if you wanted to bring, I know a lot of people really like knotting, and there's plenty of spots where that could be done on this design too. You could bring the strand straight down and knot it here if you wanted to, and then just travel a little with both strands opposite directions and trim. It's another thing that would work. I'll probably just weave this one in. This one's ready to trim. But yeah, there's a possibility there that you could knot that if you wanted to. But yeah, so super quick, really cute design. And we have lots of time. So I'd love to know, would you guys like to see the start and the finish again? I could show starting it with a wire guardian or putting a jump ring on.
Hey, Danielle, it's Carmi.
Hey.
You're getting lots of yeses. First of all, congratulations. You made a beaded necklace in 30 minutes. So that's fantastic for anyone who's definitely hoping to make more than one. Ideally, we have some new people, so it will be great for them to see you actually attach a clasp or how you actually attach a jump ring in those starting and finishing positions. And then, yes, definitely start it from scratch.
All right, let's do that. So in this way that we started the design, we're going to need to add some jump rings and a clasp. And it could be anything that you want to add. Totally fine. So the toggles, jump rings, all that stuff. I'm just using some lobster claws for mine. And on this end, I'm going to make this the end that has my chain. I like to make chain with my jump rings. Oh, and what I did here, sorry, I went a little quick there, but I'll show it again with another one. What I did was I opened the jump ring laterally. So the jump rings are already formed into a nice little round shape for you when you get them. Some of them have a little bit of space, but not much. I'm using, these are chain nose pliers, but they're called flat nose or square nose. I've heard a couple different terms for them. They're basically a chain nose plier with a square front. That holds more of the jump ring. So I really like using those. That said, this would be fine. You could totally use a chain nose plier and it'd be fine. These are called bent nose. Also at Michael's. They are really handy, especially when you're doing lots of jump rings. It's ergonomic for you. So right now I don't have to do anything like hyperflex my wrists or move my arms in any way that's not comfortable for me to do my jump ring. But with chain nose, I might have to kind of hunch my shoulders and get that. So that's why I use the bent nose and the square nose. It's my personal style. Not everybody does it this way, but that's just what I like to do. And so what I did here is I brought the jump ring through. This is our loop we made in the beginning. I'm just bringing the jump ring through it. And now I need my clasp. He's hiding there. There you go. And put the clasp on there, and it should fit pretty well. If it doesn't, you can always add 2 jump rings. Mine looks like it's working. See, I'm just making room so I can close my jump ring. If you hear a click like this, that's good. That means you've kind of work hard into that metal, into shape there. It adds a little bit of strength for it. I'm going to put one more jump ring on the other side. So there's that lateral opening of it. Hook into this other jump ring there. And there's that. That's pretty cute. You could also put a charm on it if you wanted to. Look great with a toggle. And of course, if this was a necklace, you know, you could make it adjustable by putting more chain. So lots of possibility there.
Hi, Danielle, it's Carmi. Thank you very much for the demo. There are some questions on the jump rings. I'm just wondering, in that Beadalon package you're using, does it say the gauge of the jump ring? Because they close really nicely.
They do. I think they're 22 gauge. It doesn't say it, but that's my guess because
they're a little thicker.
Yeah, there is a really big one here. This one I think is maybe 18 or no, it's 20. Sorry. I don't have my gaugeometer. I should have that handy more often, but I think this is 20 and I think that's 22.
Okay, thank you.
I'll check that for next class. I'll ask. Let's see. Let's start another one. I was wondering, so for this beginning, does everyone like the way this is, or do they want to see it with a wire guardian? I don't know if changing it up or if seeing it twice is more valuable than showing both methods, but feel free to holler in if you guys want to see that. Okay, so I just cut another bracelet length. So for me, I think I cut like 21 inches or something close to that. I didn't really measure, but I just went for it. And I'm going to flatten both sides of this thread. So the reason I'm doing that is this is worked with 2 needles. That's just the easiest way to work it. I'm sure you could do, you know, a different way too, but this is the
Danielle.
Yeah.
You're getting a lot of wire guardian preference.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, yeah, let's do the wire guardian, and then, you know, if
2 techniques tonight.
Yeah. And I wish I had some closed jump rings. I could still demo that other way, but it's kind of the same thing. You just throw the jump ring on when you're stitching it. If it was a closed one, that's just another idea. And then, so what we did before, I want to show that again really quick because I just breezed through it. As I was threading both of my ends with a needle, what I want to do is try to keep because my goal is to find the midpoint in the next step. And so I want to keep that, preserve the midpoint and not lose that in my fold over here by having too different of a length. So what I did here is just join those tails together and then brought these together. It's not exact, but it's close, right? And I'm just going to fold it over. And now I've got my midpoint. And the cool thing about the Wildfire is if you give that a pinch right there, it's going to remember. Now I know, hey, that's my midpoint right there. So when I start stringing, I don't lose it. Okay, so for a Wire Guardian version, where did I put that? And the Wire Guardians I'm using, they're just these ones from the Findings Wall at Michael's. This is my one that I've saved so I can show the packaging. So I've got a little baggie of them here. Okay, there's those. I'm going to use this to replace my first 4 beads. And so what I'm going to do is bring it down to my midpoint. There's my midpoint. I'm going to come back up through. So I'm just using 1 strand right now to do that because I know where my midpoint is. It's that little bent part right there. Okay, so you've got that. And now bring it to the size 10 bead onto each needle. All right, so you'll get something that looks like that. And pick one side, doesn't matter which side you choose, and reinforce it by going back through on the side. So really this is just the same thing we did before. We're just treating that Wire Guardian like those 4 seed beads that would have been there. If your Wire Guardian's tight, mine always are, you just use some pliers to pull it. Watch out for tangles. All right. And so you can tighten it by pulling both, both of the strands at this stage, and you'll get a pretty tight connection there. Come around. And so even though this is, just a little bit less organic looking than our other start style, I think if you're going to sell your jewelry, this takes any worry you might possibly have a way of jump rings coming open on your thread. It so rarely happens to me because I keep those connections here, like they're really tight, and I close those jump rings really good. But it is possible if somebody really, pulls on that piece when they buy it, that could happen. So, here's another way to make it look, a bit stronger. And you can always also jazz this up later. Like you could decorate this with charms. So there's another pro to having a Wire Guardian on there. Okay, so same thing as before. I'm going to use the same beads just because they're here. But you'd want to bring a bead on. And then just that same pattern again. I'm going to do a few repeats of it since we've got a good amount of time here. And I'm pulling my strands apart, getting that tighter, and picking up 3 size 10s. And actually, do you guys want me to change up the count? Just for interest, or stick with the pattern? We could do both, but if you want to see that, let me know. I'll do it on one of the next ones. I'm going to bring this, this is the other needle. I'm just bringing it through the first 2. I'm leaving that 3rd one out because I'm going to go around this first bead that's coming up here. There's that. Now I need another focal. And 3 more 10s above that. There's those 3. And I remember it was 11 that looked so good around this one. So I'm going to pick up 11 10s in my other color. And I'm going to join this strand up here, just going through those last two. And there's that little loop again. And this actually looks really cool with the round beads. Like, find this over here. To me, it kind of looks like an eye. So it's kind of a cool effect. And you could play with that as like your theme for when you're styling your design. So many ideas. I feel like my days are too short. So many things I want to try. And if I get to like one of them, everything else gets notebooked. But if I get to one, I feel like a winner. Let's see. So you got 3 here. I'm going to do 3 more. And string another one of these. And I'm just going to travel through these. So through all those. Here's a chance to tighten it. Bring on another bead. Three more size 10s. And then what was that count? I think it was 9 to go around. Oh, and I do this a lot. See how I'm exiting through that? You might need to just travel back. And just to keep that pattern going where each of the ones we jump looks like that. Okay, so this is my jumping strand. So I got 2, 3, there's 6, and 9. Skipping that bead and going through those last 2. So I'm going to go a little faster so I can show ending it one more time. I'm going to try ending it in a spot that's right above the bead to match what the other ones look like. So here's, where'd those go? One more. And these 3. And where am I? I'm right here. So I'm going to follow through these guys. Pull it apart. Ah. There we go. It got tangled on my keyboard again. That happens like every class. Okay, there's one there. 3 more. And 1 more of these. Three more of those, size 10s. And yeah, so I'm going to go through this focal and the first 2, exit there. And then 11 more of those yellow 10s. There's 5. There's 11. Skip that bead and go through this one. This almost kind of mimics the look of like a wax linen knotting to me. That's what it feels like with the loop arounds and stuff. And it's still a little short. I'm going to add a few more here. And 3 more. Okay, guess you're ready to finish this one. 1 more. I'm going to end with a bead for this one so I can show that again with the wire. We're going to try it with a wire guardian. So one around this one, this one, this one. Let me go through this one here. And I hope that what I'm showing here is that you can really just try any idea you have and really just wing it. depending on the length you're going for, this gives you the flexibility to do that. So many different ways to end your pieces and to finish them. I don't know, if it gives someone the, you know, the bravery to try it, then I'll feel like it's a good thing. Okay, so I'm going to pick up 9 of these 10s. There's 5. And here's 4 more, 9. Skipping that one. Okay. I'm going to find a tiny little bead. I have one here. Color. So in the handout, it shows ending it with a bead, kind of to match what we did over here. So here's a small bead. Go through that. Pick up 1 size 10. And going back to my other needle, that's this one over here. Also going to go through that bead. Oops. Okay, there's that. And 1 more size 10 on that one. And now the wire guardian. So if you were doing the loops, you would just do 2 more seed beads on each strand and then, you know, circle back. I'm going to do the wire guardian. A trick to getting your thread to stay in the first pass is to hold it between your finger and thumb, and it will stay there in the well a little bit easier. And so now I need to go back through this 10 and down here to turn. So that's what I'm doing now. Pull that tight. And so this strand needs to make that same trip. So I'm going to go up through the wire guardian on this side. And then travel back down. All right, and so there's that ending. Yet another way you can do a really cool ending. And so this, all that really remains here to do is to weave in, strengthen up, and finish it off. So just kind of same thing we did before. I'm going to use this first one to turn. So I went through the focal and the 2 10s that are above and below it. And I go back through all these 10s on the side. So there's lots of different ways you can weave in. This is just one way. And it doesn't matter where you choose to do your turns. It's totally up to you. It's starting to get tight, but that's good, right? There we go. This is such a cute little pattern. Just a really fun way to make use of any beads that you have. And then, like I was saying earlier, if you like this pattern with the 3 and skipping a few and doing some arms, that's great. But don't be afraid to branch out and try what different counts could look like. And I was thinking for this one, this is actually going to be a pretty long necklace, and it's going to have a cute charm on it. This is an all ocean theme one, and I found these little mermaid tails that I was going to hang on the end. So that's where I'm going with that one. And with this one, all that remains to be done is weaving in. Does anyone have any questions about any part of the project, or we're doing so great on time?
Hey, Danielle, it's Carmi.
Hey.
You just got the perfect question. How do you add a charm? Do you weave it in, or do you add it with a jump ring?
Oh, so Either way, I don't weave it in, but you can add it. You can add it here with a jump ring. I'll show putting it on one of these, but there's also that potential to treat it like a pendant. And so, for example, this is just the center of a necklace that I made. It's a really big necklace. And I just hung a charm right there at what the center point was. So I, you know, held it up here, came down to put the jump ring on it. So I'll show that, and then I'll show putting one on the end. Let me grab some charms really quick. I've got a bunch in this box. You guys should see me in the charm section. It's a little crazy, I'm not gonna lie. Okay. And all the charms at Michael's, I have yet to find one that does not come with its own jump rings. So you don't have to worry about matching jump rings or, you know, having extras or any of that. Let's see, what's this one here? This one will be cute on that one. I'm going to put a pendant on. Let's pretend we're doing a pendant. What I like to do is I find the point that's open, because they're always on these cards, and you can cut this if you want to, but we already know we have to open our jump ring. This is just a little time saver. And I just pull it off like that. Okay, so pretend this is a necklace for just a second. And that this is our midpoint. All you would do is just go over that bar of seed beads there. And then close it. This is where the bent nose come in really handy, because you can get really close to your beads. This is a very strong jump ring. That's not closing for me. There we go. All right. So like if that was a necklace, there'd be my midpoint with my pendant. And if I wanted to put charms on the end, switch back to this one. I tend to put my charms on the side that is my chain side. If I'm using a lobster claw, if I'm using a toggle, if I'm using a toggle, I think I actually put them on the ring side so they don't get in the way when you're trying to put it in, but I don't think it matters that much. I think that's just what I do. So here's another charm. And I'm going to put it, so there's lots of different ways. There's lots of space here. I could go through my seed hoop again, or I could just go onto one of the jump rings. And that's probably the least resistance there. So I'm going to do that. That one closed. So there's one way to add a charm as part of your closure.
Danielle, that's perfect. I'm just going to chime in. You did have one question. Are the wire guardians you are using today the standard size, or are they the bigger ones? Because there are two sizes usually of wire guardians.
It's a really great question. And I've been meaning to research this myself. The ones I'm using are the ones that are here. And I believe they are 0.19. Now, I use 0.24 a lot. And they come in many colors. I just wanted to research, you know, what's on the wall there at the findings wall. But you know, these are the ones that are 0.19. And I think they, actually, they have some dimensions right here on the back. Super handy. They're saying they're actually 0.22. So, yeah, they're actually a little bigger than I thought they were.
Thank you, Danielle. And the next thing is you've got about 5 minutes, and quite a few people have noticed your bracelet.
Oh,
so this might be a good time for you to swing into what's next, and please show them your bracelet.
Yeah, this is next week. And it's really fun. So this design has sparked so many versatile, like, you know, variations that we're going to introduce. This is the basic pattern. You'll need some super duos, some size 8s, and some size 6 rounds. You can use anything you want. Our, let's see, in the handout for next week, it calls out some really pretty pearls that are on the strand wall. It calls out our flax color Super Duo. And then this is the barley size 8. And all those part numbers are, of course, here in the handout that you can download on the page where you go to register. But what I did here is I switched it up. This is the rainbow bronze. It's still the barley in there, but the bronze makes it look so much darker. And then I use these like glow browns. And what those look like are, I have a bunch of them here. They come in lots of different colors. And they're just over on the strand wall. It's another one of those bundles that has like 4 different sizes. So that's what I'm using for, and then of course for a clasp, you can use a toggle. In the handout, you'll see there's a toggle on this one, and I will show how to do that. But on this one, I threw a magnetic clasp on it. So that was just a really cool way to finish it. And there's, I hope I don't get carried away next week. I will try very hard not to, but there's a necklace. There's a marquise version, which tapers from size 10 millimeter down to 4 and back up again. And I just thought of another variation. So that looks kind of like an eye in the center with right angle weave on the side. Anyway, just rein me in next week. Heads up, Carmi. Because I have been making lots of different like spins on this, and I'm super excited about it. So yeah, I hope you see everyone next week to try this design out.
Do you happen to have the other samples?
The other samples, I don't have them. I need to make them still. Because so what I do is I send everything up to John Bead for the great photography that you guys see in a lot of our designs. And so I usually make 2 sets, which means I'm ready for class, right? So it helps. But yeah, the ones after that, we have a pendant necklace, which is, I think we called it the romance pendant. It's a spin off of the bracelet design, but it has a little crystal, and the little crystal attaches up through a rounded halo version of this, made in a circle instead of in an oval, where there's a big 10 millimeter pearl in the center, and we put that on chain. And then the one that's after that is an earring. It's a chandelier earring with 3 different pearl sizes, and that same right angle weave spin around it. And we did that with silver and Aurora Borealis. So
thank you, Danielle.
Yeah.
I want to remind everyone who's still here that on April 11th, you have a special Q&A 1-hour session this month. So they have an opportunity to learn from you about how you started your business, and that'll be an extra class.
Yeah, I'll just share everything I know about selling jewelry and making lots of jewelry. Yeah,
they can sign up for that class already. It's on the Michaels page, and you can sign up to attend that one.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that. There's so much exciting stuff coming up. All right. Well, hey, I wish you guys a great Friday night and a very awesome weekend, and enjoy your holiday, and have a great week ahead. And I'll see you next Friday for bracelet time. Okay, bye everyone.